Beloved soul, welcome into this sacred and chosen moment. Before you scroll past these words, I want you to pause. Take a slow, gentle breath and allow your spirit to grow still. Let the noise of the world fade for just a moment, because what is being spoken here is not meant for your eyes alone. It is meant for the deepest part of your heart. Heaven itself has directed your steps to this message, and the angels want you to understand something profound before confusion or emotional uncertainty takes deeper root in your spirit. If you have been feeling unusually emotional lately, if restlessness has been visiting your nights, if sudden memories of someone have been rising without warning or reason, beloved, there is a divine explanation behind that quiet stirring. It is not random. It is not coincidence. The universe, under the direction of God Himself, is carefully moving things into position. Someone from your past or your present has been carrying your name in the deepest chamber of their heart, and heaven is finally breaking open the silence that has held them back for far too long. Before we go any further, I want you to move in faith right now. Take a moment and write in the comments, "I believe in God," or "I trust God's plan." This is not simply a comment. It is a declaration of alignment. When you speak these words, you open your spirit to receive the divine wisdom and heavenly direction that this moment carries. Faith is always activated through declaration, and your declaration right now invites God into every part of what you are about to receive. And if this is your first time here, welcome to Angel's Whisper. This is a sacred space created for divine messages, angelic insight, and prophetic understanding. This is a place where heaven's truth meets the human heart. I invite you to subscribe, turn on your notifications, and remain connected, because every message shared in this space is designed to guide you closer to God's truth and God's perfect plan for your life. Beloved, the angels are speaking with urgency now. This person who has been holding your name in their heart has never truly released you. What lives beneath the surface of their life, beneath all the appearances they have maintained and all the distractions they have surrounded themselves with, has never let go of the connection they share with you. And a building pressure, a divine pressure, is now pushing them out of their long silence. They are not preparing to step forward casually or accidentally. They are coming toward you with a purposeful truth they have carried alone for far too long, a truth that has grown too heavy for silence to contain any longer. Write this in the comments as an act of faith. God is moving on my behalf. This declaration opens the spiritual pathway for heaven to work freely in your situation. What this person intends to say will genuinely surprise you, beloved. It will reveal a depth of feeling they worked incredibly hard to hide from the world and even from themselves. You may have already noticed quiet signs of this unbroken bond between you. Sudden thoughts of them appearing without invitation, specific dreams carrying their presence, an unexplained emotion rising up in the middle of an ordinary day with no clear trigger. These are not accidents. These are not products of your imagination. This is what happens in the invisible space between two people whose spirits have never truly separated. God does not allow two hearts connected at that depth to simply drift apart without purpose. There is always a reason. There is always a season of return. While this person performed the appearance of moving on, while they filled their days with activity and distraction and convinced the world they were fine, you remained the persistent presence their mind returned to without permission. From the outside, they appeared composed and settled, but inside they have been replaying old conversations. They have been wrestling with a growing conflict they could not resolve. They have been asking themselves again and again why no other person comes close, why no other connection feels the same, why they cannot leave your memory behind no matter how far they walk or how hard they try. Declare this boldly in the comments right now. What God has connected, nothing can permanently separate. Let this truth settle deeply into your spirit. That painful clarity has finally forced them to acknowledge something they spent a long time avoiding, that you mattered at a level they never gave voice to, that what existed between you was never ordinary or replaceable. The silence they maintained has grown too heavy to carry, and their upcoming expression is going to reach places inside you that you believed had long since closed. Romans 8:28 reminds us, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. Even the silence, even the waiting, even the confusion, God was working through all of it to bring you to this appointed moment. They did not lose you because things simply failed, beloved. They lost you because they did not yet know how to meet what was real between you. They did not know how to show up in the way your connection deserved. That understanding has followed them everywhere. It has sat with them in quiet rooms and crowded spaces. It has found them in moments of celebration and moments of solitude. And it has refused to release them until they face it honestly. If you wonder why they stayed silent for so long, the angels want you to understand the answer clearly. It was not indifference. It was not that they moved on and forgot. It was a deep, paralyzing fear. They feared you had already healed and moved forward completely. They feared your strength and the quiet dignity you carry. And they feared rejection more deeply than almost anything else they have ever faced. Most of all, they were afraid to look honestly at their own choices, to admit the mistakes that pride had spent so long protecting and defending. So silence became their escape. But holding truth inside eventually became its own punishment. Proverbs 28:13 tells us that whoever conceals their sins does not prosper, but the one who confesses and renounces them finds mercy. The weight of what they chose not to say began to press upon them until carrying it became more painful than the fear of speaking it. Write this in the comments as a declaration of truth. I will receive what heaven is preparing for me. Let this open your heart to what God is about to bring into the light. A specific shift happened recently, beloved. Something broke open within them. Perhaps it was a small glimpse of your life. Perhaps it was a wave of loneliness that found them in a crowded room. Perhaps it was a quiet moment when all the distractions fell away and the truth they had been running from stood directly in front of them. A quiet and certain realization arrived that if they do not speak now, they will carry the weight of this unspoken truth as a permanent regret. This decision was not made from desperate impulse. It was made with the serious and deliberate weight of someone who finally understands that honesty is the only path that leads anywhere worth going. They are not returning for casual conversation. They are not coming back simply to fill a space of loneliness. They are coming to voice everything they hid behind ego and allowed pride to bury. The belief you may have held that they were unaffected and at peace is about to be completely overturned by a reality you never fully saw. The truth is, they felt everything, more deeply than they ever revealed, caring at a level that was never casual or manageable. They carried all of that intense emotion in silence, turning it over countless times, imagining your face and rehearsing every possible way this conversation might unfold. That silence is finally ending now. Type this boldly in the comments as an agreement with heaven. I am ready to receive God's truth in this situation. This declaration prepares your spirit to receive what is coming without fear or emotional confusion. Beloved, the angels want you to understand something that 1 Corinthians 13:7 captures so beautifully. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. True love does not dissolve simply because a situation changes or because pride demands it to. It remains. It occupies its place deeply within a person, waiting until the effort of running becomes too exhausting to maintain. What this person has been carrying is not a passing feeling. It is a love they never properly honored, and it has refused to stay buried. They now face terrifying uncertainty because they do not know how you will receive what they are preparing to say. But they have arrived at the understanding that the cost of continued silence is far greater than the risk of vulnerability. Stripping away their usual armor, they are preparing to admit clearly and without defense that they handled things wrongly, that they failed to love you in the way your connection required. That pride cost them something they cannot replace. Write this declaration in the comments right now. God is restoring what was lost in my life. Let this truth take root in your spirit and guard your heart against fear as this moment approaches. Ecclesiastes 3 reminds us that there is a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to hold on and a time to release. And, beloved, the angels are declaring clearly over your life that the season of silence is ending. The time of speaking is now. What was hidden is rising to the surface. What was buried is being uncovered, and what was owed to your heart is preparing to be delivered. As you approach this moment, it is vital that you stand firmly in the strength and healing you have built within yourself. You are not the same person you were when this connection first began, or when things first became unclear and painful. God has been working in you through every quiet season, through every unanswered question, through every moment you chose to trust Him instead of collapsing under the weight of uncertainty. Isaiah 40:31 reminds us, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. That renewal has been happening in you, beloved, even when you could not feel it clearly. Declare this now in the comments with boldness. I am stronger than I was and ready for what God is bringing. Let this truth anchor your spirit as you step into this season. When you finally encounter this person, something within your body will register the significance of the moment before your thoughts can even catch up. A distinct weight will fill the space between you. A quiet stillness will arrive where unspoken truths finally demand to be acknowledged. This encounter is not random, beloved. It holds a profound purpose that goes far beyond whether or not you choose to reconcile. It is entirely about giving truth the space it was always owed. It is about bringing something that has remained unfinished to a point of completion. And whatever form that resolution ultimately takes, it will release a tension you have both been carrying longer than either of you should have had to. At the very center of everything they have been holding is a single, undeniable confession. They never stopped loving you. They tried every available distraction and replacement. They convinced themselves and the world that they had made peace with the past and moved forward completely. But genuine love does not dissolve simply because circumstances change. It stays. It waits. It occupies its place silently, faithfully, until the moment arrives when it can no longer remain unspoken. Type yes in the comments if you believe God is preparing a breakthrough in your situation right now. Let this be your agreement with heaven that you are expectant and ready for what is coming. That long-hidden truth is now asking to be acknowledged out loud, in full honesty, without the protection of distance or silence. And after this meeting takes place, beloved, a tangible and grounded shift will settle into reality, where there has been confusion and emotional suspension for far too long. The weight of unanswered questions will finally lift. The loop of what if and why and what was real will finally come to rest, and you will receive the clarity needed to move forward with absolute certainty rather than the hesitation that uncertainty always produces. Beloved, the angels also want to speak directly to something many people quietly struggle with but rarely name openly. It is the fear of being alone. Sometimes people hold on to connections that are no longer serving them, not because they truly believe it is right, but because the thought of waiting feels too heavy to bear. The enemy of your soul uses this fear skillfully. He whispers that no one better is coming, that this is the best you will find, that releasing what is familiar means facing an empty future. But beloved, those whispers are not from heaven. Zephaniah 3:17 declares, "The Lord your God is with you, the mighty warrior who saves. He will take great delight in you. In his love he will rejoice over you with singing." You are never truly alone when God is with you. He sees you. He is not finished writing your story. Do not allow the fear of loneliness to push you into accepting confusion as a substitute for covenant clarity. Declare this with courage in the comments. I am never alone because God is with me. Let this truth silence every whisper that tries to keep you small or settled in less than God's best. The angels are also speaking about the nature of resolution in this season, beloved. There is a difference between something ending because it fades away unacknowledged and something ending because it has been fully seen, fully spoken, and brought to its natural conclusion. One leaves behind loose threads that your spirit continues to search through. The other ties them together in a way that allows you to set them down fully and move forward without the invisible weight of the unfinished. What is available in this moment is the second kind of resolution. Not forced, not imagined, not constructed in your own mind as a way of creating comfort where there was none, but resolution that comes from truth being spoken directly, from reality being faced honestly rather than avoided endlessly. And it is important to understand that both possible outcomes carry genuine value. There is a natural tendency to assign worth only to the outcome that matches your desire, the reopening, the continuation, the beginning again. But truth itself is valuable regardless of what form it takes. Clarity is a gift, whether it opens a new chapter or closes a difficult one with the grace it deserved. Type this in the comments as your shield of faith. I trust God with every outcome in my life. This declaration guards your heart from attaching your peace to a specific result rather than to God's sovereign hand. Proverbs 3:5-6 reminds us, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths." Beloved, This is the posture heaven is calling you into as this moment approaches, not the posture of someone who has already decided what must happen and is working to secure it, but the posture of someone who has placed their trust completely in God and is therefore free to receive whatever truth He allows to come forward without fear of any outcome. If what emerges from this encounter is a new chapter, it will not be built on the same foundation as before. It will not rely on unspoken understandings or emotional undercurrents that never fully surfaced. It will be built on honesty, on a shared willingness to acknowledge what is real, even when reality is complex and uncomfortable. That kind of foundation is stronger not because it guarantees ease, but because it removes the ambiguity that quietly erodes connection over time. And if what comes is genuine closure, true closure that was never manufactured by your own effort, then that too carries immense worth. There is a peace that only arrives when something is finally named for what it is. When questions that have circled in your mind for months or years are answered not with guesses, but with direct and honest truth. Write this in the comments as a declaration of alignment. I receive God's truth with an open and peaceful heart. Let this declaration prepare your spirit to honor whatever heaven reveals. As you move into this conversation, beloved, the angels are urging you to listen with your full spirit and not just your emotions. The instinct to respond quickly, to fill silence, to manage the moment and make it more comfortable is understandable. But it is not necessary here. When someone is finally speaking what they have long suppressed, there is always more beneath the surface than what arrives in the first few sentences. Truth does not always emerge in a single clean statement. It unfolds gradually as the person finds the courage to release what they have protected for so long. If you interrupt that process too quickly with your own reaction, you may unintentionally close the door on the very truth you have been waiting to receive. So, let them speak. Let there be pauses. Let there be silence. Silence in a conversation like this is not emptiness. It is where honesty gathers itself. It is where the deeper layers begin to surface and breathe. James 1:19 reminds us that everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to react. That wisdom is not merely practical advice, beloved. It is heavenly instruction for a moment exactly like this one. And when they have finished, give yourself the same sacred space. You do not need to respond immediately. You do not need to have perfectly constructed words ready. What matters is not the speed of your response, but the authenticity behind it. Speak from the place that has been shaped by everything you have walked through. The waiting, the questioning, the quiet growth that happened in your spirit while everything around you seemed to remain unchanged. Declare this now in the comments. I will listen with wisdom and speak with truth. Let this declaration guard your heart and your words in this appointed moment. There is a difference between reacting and responding, beloved. Reacting is immediate and driven by the surge of emotion in the moment. Responding is intentional. It comes from a place that has taken a breath, that has allowed the first wave to settle, that chooses to speak from clarity rather than intensity. That is the place God is calling you to speak from. And it is perfectly acceptable if what you say is simple. It is perfectly acceptable if it is not fully resolved or perfectly articulated. Honesty does not require perfection. It requires presence. It requires the courage to let what is true in you be seen without the armor of performance. Remember also, beloved, that you are not obligated to produce a specific outcome from this conversation. There is no script you must follow, no role you must perform in order to make this moment succeed. Success here is not measured by whether things continue or come to an end. It is measured by whether what is true is finally allowed to exist in the open, acknowledged and honored by both sides. Colossians 3:15 says, "Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts." Beloved, that peace is your compass, not the desire for a particular outcome, not the fear of a specific result. The peace of God is what tells you when something is aligned with heaven and when it is not. If peace is present, follow it forward. If peace is absent, do not manufacture a sense of calm to replace it. Trust what your spirit is telling you. Type this boldly in the comments as an act of surrender and strength. I will follow God's peace above my own desires. This declaration is not weakness, beloved. It is the highest form of wisdom and spiritual discernment. As you reflect on what this moment is bringing forward, allow yourself to be completely honest about your internal response. It may not arrive as a single clear emotion. It may come as a mixture. hope intertwined with caution, sadness resting alongside relief, a quiet peace coexisting with the recognition of what was lost or delayed. All of those responses are valid, beloved. They do not cancel one another out. They are simply different layers of your experience coming into awareness simultaneously. God does not ask you to simplify what is genuinely complex. He asks you to bring all of it to Him. Psalm 34:18 tells us that the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. He sits with you in the complexity. He does not rush past your pain toward a resolution. He heals from the inside out. Write this in the comments as your declaration of healing. God is healing every part of me that was hurt in this season. Let this truth take root in the deepest places of your heart. Beloved, the angels also want to remind you of something essential. The very fact that truth is finally arriving, even when it comes late, even when it costs the other person something significant to bring it forward, is a form of respect. It means that at some level they recognize the true significance of what existed between you. It means they see you clearly enough to understand that silence is no longer acceptable, that what you shared deserves honest acknowledgement rather than continued avoidance. That does not erase what their silence cost you. It does not undo the confusion, the moments of self-doubt, the times you questioned whether what you felt was real or imagined. But it does place those experiences in a different light. It confirms that what you sensed, what you felt, what you believed was present, had its foundation in reality. You were not creating something out of nothing. You were responding honestly to something genuine, even when it was not fully expressed or acknowledged at the time. And through all of that, beloved, you were changed. Not in a way that made you more guarded or more closed, but in a way that deepened your understanding of yourself and of love itself. You learned what it means to feel something fully without immediate resolution. You learned how to remain in uncertainty without being destroyed by it. You learned that your capacity to love deeply, to invest emotionally, to connect with sincerity is not a weakness that leaves you vulnerable. It is a strength that God placed within you intentionally. Declare this now in the comments with confidence. I am not broken. I am being made whole for the covenant God has prepared. This declaration seals your worth in the spiritual realm and stands against every lie that tried to tell you that your open heart was a mistake. Jeremiah 29:11 reminds us, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future." Your future, beloved, is not held hostage by what one person chose or failed to choose. Your future is secured in the hands of a God who knew your name before you were formed, and who has been ordering your steps towards something greater than what confusion or silence could contain. What is happening now is simply the moment where everything that has lived internally becomes external, where what has been felt finally becomes spoken, where what has been uncertain becomes defined. And definition, beloved, even when it does not arrive in the form you originally hoped for, is always freeing. It removes the need to keep revisiting the same emotional territory. It removes the invisible weight of searching for clarity that can only come through direct and honest communication. It gives your spirit something solid to stand on, something that allows genuine movement rather than the exhausting repetition of the same emotional loop. Type this in the comments as your final declaration of faith and readiness. I am ready for God's truth, God's healing, and God's best in my life. This is your agreement with heaven that you are prepared, beloved, that you are not entering this moment from a place of desperation or fear, but from a place of spiritual readiness and divine trust. Beloved soul, you are not an option waiting on a decision. You are not a backup plan for someone who could not commit to what was real. You are a covenant promise written with intention by a God who does not make mistakes. And what is truly yours cannot be stolen, cannot be permanently delayed, and cannot be destroyed by any amount of human confusion or silence or fear. So step into this moment with steadiness, not because you know exactly what will unfold, but because you trust the God who does. Let the conversation breathe as it needs to. Let yourself listen fully and respond honestly. And when it is over, allow yourself to recognize the shift that has taken place, not just in the situation, but in you, because you are not the same person who entered this journey. You are someone who has already walked through the uncertainty and come out the other side with greater faith, deeper wisdom, and a heart that is finally ready, not for a specific outcome, but for the truth itself. And from that place, beloved, God can do abundantly more than you could ask or imagine. If this message has spoken directly to your spirit, take a moment to like this video as a step of agreement. Subscribe to Angel's Whisper and turn on notifications so that every divine message prepared for your heart finds you in the season you need it most.